Welcome, brave soul, I am the forgotten storyteller. Before we begin, tap that like button if you dare, and drop a comment below telling me where in the world you're listening from. And if you make it to the end of this video, I hope to see you in the next story. I hope you're ready, because I am. Let's begin. Our story tonight begins deep in the woods. The kind of woods that don't show up on maps. Not exactly. They're the kind of trees that seem to whisper if you stand still long enough. The kind of dirt trail that looks freshly walked, though no one's passed through in days. Where moss grows thick and the air smells of bark and stillness. This is where the trees breathe, this is where it lives. Sandy had come to the woods alone. She said it was for the peace, the solitude. She needed to clear her mind after months of too many city lights, too much noise, and far too many people. So she packed her old canvas bag, her sleeping mat, a dented kettle, a small lantern that flickered and casted light just right. And she followed a trail no one had spoken of in years. The ranger station hadn't even asked where she was going. Backcountry? Good luck. That's all they said. The path wound deeper than she expected. At first it was beautiful. Sunlight scattered through the canopy, dappled greens and golds on her face. Birdsong drifted like a lullaby. Insects clicked like old clocks. Time seemed to slow, stretch, disappear. But by late afternoon, something began to feel off. The birds had gone quiet. Even the buzzing had stopped. Only her footsteps remained, and something else. Something distant. A low crackle, a hush between trees. Like breath caught in branches, like someone watching. But there was no one. No one she could see. Just the long silence of the woods. And the growing feeling that the trail was watching her back. She chose a place to camp anyway. An old clearing ringed with stones. There was no sign of recent use, just leaves and an old tree stump broken in half. She set up her mat, lit her lantern, and poured water into the kettle. The hiss of the flame was comforting, a soft little heartbeat in the growing dark. The fire crackled like dry whispers. She sat, wrapped in her blanket, listening to the woods breathe. She almost drifted off then beneath the open sky. But a branch snapped, not close, but not far. She sat up, very still. The flame of her lantern flickered. The woods were dark now, really dark, not like the city at night, but like pitch black dark. Where shadows have shape, where something might be standing between the trees, just far enough away to see you without being seen. Sandy stared, and in the faint shimmer of firelight, she saw it just beyond the last tree. Something upright and still. It looked like a person, but not quite. The shape was wrong, too thin, too tall, arms too long, like they didn't end right. Its head tilted, just a little, like it was trying to understand her. Trying to decide. She didn't speak, she didn't move. She couldn't. Her heart thudded once, then again, and the figure took a step forward. Sandy didn't run. Not yet, something in her bones told her not to, because the figure wasn't running either. It simply stood there just watching. Its shape almost human, but not enough. The way it leaned, the way its limbs hung, like a puppet on invisible strings. She blinked and it was gone. The woods were empty again, utterly still. But that silence, it wasn't comfort. It was like whatever was out there was just waiting to attack. Sandy stayed by the fire that night. She didn't sleep. She barely breathed. Now and then, she thought she heard it again. A soft step on dry leaves. A faint scrape of bark. The sound of something tall brushing past a tree trunk. Each time she told herself, it was an animal, a branch, or a trick of the dark. But deep down, her skin knew better. The woods weren't empty. They were aware. When dawn finally bled through the canopy, she packed fast. She didn't even eat. Just poured out the kettle, water still cold, and laced up her boots. She didn't look back at the clearing, not even once. But as she walked the path out, she noticed something strange. There were footprints. Not hers. They were much larger than hers and much deeper. Pressed into the damp earth behind her. As if something had followed, all through the night. And then, beside a tree near the edge of the trail, she saw fingernail marks. For long drags marks down the bark. Like someone or something had stood there. Just out of sight. Clinging and just watching. By mid-morning, Sandy had hiked to a higher ridge. She stopped to drink, hoping the sun would clear her mind. But as she raised the bottle to her lips, she saw it again. Far across the valley. Between two tall pines. A shape, it was tall, standing very still, and was pale. Its face wasn't visible, but she felt its eyes. Even across that distance. It wasn't hunting. Not yet. It was just waiting. Letting her see it, letting her know. That it knows she sees it. Trying not to show any fear on her face, she pressed on. down into the next grove, then back into shadow. The trees closed around her again, and the deeper she went, the more the forest changed. No more birds, no more buzzing, just wind, and trees that seemed to lean closer together like they were hiding something between them. She came across a stream, cool and clear. She thought she might wash her face, but when she knelt at the edge, she caught her reflection in the water, and behind her, just for a flicker, a second reflection. It was twisted and wrong, it was blinking when she didn't. She stumbled back, and the water calmed, only her face remained. It was midday now, and Sandy knew she was being stalked. She couldn't see it, but she knew. In every shift of the wind, in every tree that swayed a second too late, in the way her skin prickled with cold, even in sunlight. She wasn't alone. She made camp again as the light began to die. Not because she wanted to, but because her legs would carry her no farther. She picked a spot near a fallen tree, trying to create a barrier. She lit no fire. And still, in the distance, branches broke. And not from deers, not from bears. She could hear the footsteps getting closer. Not rushing, not chasing, but definitely coming in her direction. Sandy didn't sleep that night. Not really, she drifted here and there, but never fully. Not with the sounds. They came in waves. Twigs cracking, leaves shifting. A low, pulsing sound, like breathing, but not from her own lungs. Once she thought she heard something speak. Not words, but a whisper. Not to her, but about her. As if something was deciding. Around midnight, she opened her eyes. The stars above were barely visible. Clouds moved low and slow across the sky. And in the dark, she saw it again. Closer now. At the edge of the fallen log. Just standing there. Not hiding, not anymore. It was very tall. So tall that its head nearly brushed the lower branches. Its arms were slack, long and loose, and its fingers nearly reached the ground. Its face was too smooth, too pale, and no eyes. Just shape. The shape of a person. But wrong, imitating, trying. Sandy held her breath. The thing leaned slightly, like it was curious. Then slowly it crouched, still watching her. Like it might crawl or leap, or wait until she blinked. She didn't move for hours. Not until the sky began to pale again. When the thing was gone. No footsteps. No retreat, just absence. As if it had melted into the soil. Sandy packed again, hands shaking now. She didn't boil water. Didn't eat. Didn't breathe too deeply. She walked fast, not running. Because something told her that it would give chase if she did. And deeper into the woods she went. Off the trail now. Branches catching her sleeves. Twigs snagging her skin. She followed the light, any light she could find. A break in the canopy. A slope that might lead out. But always behind her that feeling, that weight. Of something watching from just behind the bark. Hours passed. She no longer knew direction. No map or no compass, just trees. Endless trees that began to look more and more alike. And sometimes, they seemed to move. She swore when she turned around quickly. The trunks had shifted. As if the woods were subtly reshaping themselves. Leading her. Not out, but deeper. She found another clearing. Smaller this time. Less welcoming. A circle of dead grass and 6 tall stones standing upright. Old and weathered, they weren't natural, not the way they stood. Like teeth. And in the center a hole. Not dug, not recent. An ancient hollow, just wide enough. For someone to fit. Someone curled or lowered. The sun began to set, and Sandy understood. This wasn't a chance meeting, it hadn't found her. She had found it. This place, this part of the forest. It was old. Much older than maps. Older than memory. And something in it had taken shape. Not of flesh, but thought. An earth and the gaze of those who wandered too deep. Now Sandy was no longer just watched. She was known. Sandy didn't stop walking. Even as the trees closed in. Even as the world dimmed around her. She no longer knew if it was day or night. Only that the sky was gray. And the woods were breathing. She stumbled once over a root that hadn't been there a moment before. Fell hard onto damp moss. When she looked up, it was there. No longer distant. No longer waiting. Standing no more than 15 feet away. Its head tilted as always. But now its fingers were twitching. Moving in slow, delicate circles. Like it was trying to remember how to use them. Or trying to decide what to do with her. Its limbs cracked as it stepped forward. The sound not like bones, but like old wood, dry and splintering. Its face was empty, still no eyes, still no mouth. But somehow she could feel it smiling. Not kindly, not cruelly, but very curiously. Sandy didn't scream, she didn't beg, she didn't run. She stood, shaking and tired. Tears drying on her face. And she said, I see you, but I am no longer scared of you. Her voice barely a whisper. But in the quiet of the woods, it was enough. The thing stopped, head lifting, fingers stilling. It tilted once more. And then, slowly it stepped back. Then another and another. Until it vanished between the trees. And just like that the forest exhaled. The silence lifted. The leaves rustled. Birds sang far off, very faint. But real. Sandy walked, she didn't know how long. Time had lost its shape. But eventually she saw light. Golden light and a dirt road. And the metal edge of a forgotten ranger sign. And beyond that the world. She never spoke of what she saw. Not exactly. Not to anyone who asked. Just said she got turned around. Just said she camped too deep. But at night she still dreams of trees. And sometimes when she passes a shadow too tall to be a tree, or sees a reflection in a window that isn't quite hers, she feels it again. Watching. Being patient, just waiting. Because the forest never forgets. And neither does what lives in it. It doesn't chase. It doesn't speak. It only waits for you to see it. And once you do, you never unsee it again. Let us know in the comments, if you were Sandy, what would you have done?
Ready for spine-chilling tales that will haunt your thoughts? Subscribe to Forgotten Storyteller for eerie narrations, unsettling mysteries, and haunting stories you won't forget. Hit the bell icon so you never miss a story, because some stories refuse to stay buried. Join us, if you dare.